Hello, team. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, I can see that people are joining. Welcome, everyone, to our very exciting premiere of Transfarmation. I'm going to give it a few minutes for people to trickle in, maybe 2 minutes before we get things moving. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Where are you dialing in from? Let us know what city you're in. Hello, Andrew. Great to see you, one of our contributing photographers. And in the meantime, we have the two filmmakers here and Sarah, who is the subject of the film. Super excited to have a conversation with them today and to have you ask them some questions. Hey, Molly. Molly's also one of our contributing photographers, and we have Cindy, who's on the WAM team. From Switzerland, Belgium. Welcome to all. Germany. Fantastic. You know, if we had had 200 people coming to this Transfarmation premiere, I would have been really happy. But we have, I think, 800 people signed up, and we had about 1,500 people interested. So yeah, London, Brazil, India. Oh my gosh, Italy. This is fantastic. Thanks, everyone. Thrilled. Uruguay, France. Oh my goodness, what a thrill. Thanks for joining, everyone. If you're just joining, I'm going to give another minute or so for people to trickle in and join us. You're here for the premiere, online premiere of Transfarmation. We have the filmmakers here and the subject of the film. People joining from New York City, Canada, Hampshire, UK. Fantastic. Okay, it's 12:04. We will begin. Hello, officially, and welcome to our screening. We have here Sarah Heiligtag. She is the subject of our film, Transfarmation. We Animals Media are creating a project about stories of change and progress. We know that there are a lot of terrible things that we need to see. That's what we specialize in, is documenting factory farming and our uses and abuses of animals. But we also want to show the good, because that, of course, inspires us. So we actually have had, for the last 7 years, the Unbound project, which features women on the front lines of animal advocacy worldwide. And we're wrapping that project and starting this yet to be named project, working title, Stories of Change and Progress. So we're kind of launching this new project with this short film about Sarah. And we have the two filmmakers here. We have Sabina Dietelm and Thomas Makowitz. And do the three of you want to wave hello?
Hi.
We're so happy to have you, and welcome. We see, Amsterdam, Nepal, Sweden, Kelowna, Poland. We're so happy to have you all, including Anouk, who calls me by my nickname. That's great. Hi, Anouk. Well, that's I'm not going to speak very much right now. We're just going to launch into this film. I'm going to do a proper introduction of our three speakers after the film by reading their bios. I want to also say that if we have any technical difficulties, just hold tight. We'll do our best to sort those out in the moment. And if not, we'll probably have Ava come in and let us know plan B. I think plan B is for you all to go to YouTube, where it's live, and we'll drop that link for you, and then to watch it, and then to come back to join for the Q&A. So as you probably know, we will be having a Q&A afterwards with these three lovely folks about why they made the film, what Sarah's doing with her incredible project, and so on. Okay, looking at my notes, and I think that's, I'm going to leave it at that, short and sweet. We're going to launch into the screening of Transfarmation about Sarah, made by Sabina and Thomas. Just hold tight while Ava does that. Great.
Also ich habe von Anfang an habe ich das eigentlich im Bio gesagt, dass ich da gar nicht mitarbeiten will, weil ich habe gewusst, ich werde eine Beziehung aufbauen zu diesen Tieren und wenn es dann heisst, die müssen in die Metzger oder so, ist das für mich immer, also ist das schwierig, oder?
Also meine grösste Herausforderung, den Betrieb so zu führen, ist eigentlich, weil es nicht zu meiner Einstellung passt, den Tieren gegenüber.
Ja, sie haben uns ein Jahr lang das Überleben gesichert, finanziell. Und jetzt, ja, als Dank tut man es quasi schlachten.
Und erst, als ich eben gefunden habe, jetzt muss ich mal schauen, was ich mit diesem Betrieb eigentlich will, bin ich darauf gestossen, dass es sich überhaupt nicht gut ist. Also ja, ich war wie betriebsblind durch das, dass ich halt immer da war. Und mein Vater glaube ich auch, weil er halt, also er ist auch, er hat es auch nicht besser gewusst, ja.
Ich habe einfach gewusst, es muss etwas ändern, aber ich habe nicht gewusst, wie kann ich es anpacken kann. Und es war so wie eine Erleichterung, als ich das Zahnrad getroffen habe und sie mir hat gesagt, dass es eben, wie gesagt, kein Problem ist, hier einfach weiter zu starten.
A transformation, put quickly, is the transformation of a farm that used to exploit animals into a farm that is now no longer exploiting animals but still working as a farm. I'm Sarah and we are on Hofnar, which is a farm and a sanctuary. My why started when I was a child. I love animals and I always tried to help animals in some way or other. I became an activist, I did undercover research, I did a lot of stuff. And when I realized that by changing farms into either sanctuaries or vegan farms and take the animals out of the food system, then I would actually rescue many, many more animals than if I just rescue one animal. So after the first phone call with a farmer who wants to transfarm, I go to the place, I need to see it. And then we talk about their vision, their wishes, their hopes, their passions. We look at their surroundings, what could they plant, what could they live from, what could they sell. Then we also look at the finances. And of course we talk about the animals, will they stay there, will they go somewhere else? What can we do for the animals? We're going to a farm with cows again. This time it's like the so-called Ausmelkkühe, the cows that have been giving milk for a long time and now are shortly before slaughter, a few months before slaughter. They come to this farm where they can be exploited a little bit more even, and then they are all being slaughtered. So you fix the tail here and you fix the neck there. Yeah.
Right. So they're not really, it's not really comfortable, but it's just how the way it was. Since my grandfather did it, it was the way it is now. And so that's what I want to change now.
The main problem with animal industry is the life they have before they are killed. Many of these animals don't get to live any of their needs, just food and water maybe, but they don't see the sunlight or they just see it not very often. They don't get to be with their families. They have hardly anything they need. The whole life, which I wouldn't call life, before the killing is actually the worst.
Ja, also eben für mich ist es kein Zuschauen. Ich meine, eben so eine Kuh, wie es dort liegt, die ist riesengroß und man sieht ja selber, sie hat wirklich keinen Platz. Und noch eine Kuh wie sie ist ziemlich klein, also sie kann gut da stehen, aber wenn sie liegt, liegt sie gleich außerhalb von diesem Lager und das ist für mich nicht... Also es ist kein Tierwohl so, ja. Ja. Also eben für mich ist es keine Möglichkeit, so weiterzufahren, weil es viel schönere Wege gibt, ein Tier zu haben. Ja.
Once the farmers allow their feelings or their sadness to really be there and they decide to do transformation, there is a patch where it's really hard for them because they are still in the system, and until they're really out, all these decisions have to be made, which animal to rescue, which not, and it's quite a heavy way for a while. We're going to a farm that's income is based on chicken farming for eggs. And the reason why I'm in touch with them is that the farmers don't handle the chicken suffering within egg farming anymore, and they were looking for a way out.
Wir haben einen Biobetrieb mit knapp 20 Hektaren Land, haben vor allem Legehennen, einen 2000er Stall, Ackerbau und noch ein paar Mutterkühe und Schafe. Der Hauptgrund ist, so viele Hühner aufeinander funktioniert gesundheitlich für die Huhn gar nicht. Also Verletzung, Kannibalismus, Krankheiten kann man nicht vermeiden in so grossen Stellen.
Sagen wir jetzt mal, die ganze Haltung hier wäre super toll, perfekt. Würde uns das gleich noch stören, dass man einfach die Hühner jedes Jahr schlachten muss?
Für das ein Umdenken stattfindet, braucht es meiner Meinung nach sehr, sehr viel Aufklärung und auch Beispiele. Das ist sicher ein Teil, den wir auch werden probieren zu machen, dass wir gerade auch andere Landwirte hoffentlich ein bisschen dazu führen, mal vorbeizukommen und aufzuzeigen, dass es auch andere Möglichkeiten gibt und nicht nur das, wo man das Gefühl hat, das ist das Einzige, was funktioniert. Ich fühle mich im Moment viel besser, weil ich weiss, dass es ändert. Ich hatte in den letzten paar Wochen ziemlich Mühe gehabt, weil es mich recht belastet hat alles. Und jetzt bin ich ein bisschen freier geworden, weil ich weiss, was wird kommen.
A transformation needs to be coherent, like the whole system needs to be kind of a peaceful system. You couldn't just say, can I transform the cow's place but have still pigs for meat or something? Or can I just have this whole place kind of peaceful, but what I eat, no one needs to care? It has to be coherent, but that can also take time, of course. I'm not pushing anyone into anything, but I'm suggesting and trying to make logics work.
Wir sind, also ich habe den Betrieb seit 2014 und sind seit gut 2 Jahren ein Lebenshof.
Was so der Unterschied ist von einem produzierenden Betrieb und von uns jetzt vom Lebenshof, ist zum Beispiel unsere Kühe auf der Weide, die mit ihren Kälbchen, oder jetzt sind sie halt ein bisschen grösser, mit ihren Kindern dürfen zusammen sein. Das Kalb trinkt auch vom Uter, das ist in der Milchwirtschaft eigentlich nicht so üblich. Also da tut man ja die Kälbchen immer separieren.
Also meine Eltern haben das eigentlich sehr positiv aufgefasst, auch das gesamte Umfeld im Großen und Ganzen. Meine Mami hat eigentlich immer gesagt, wenn sie im Lotto gewinnt, will sie etwas in die Richtung machen, wie der Hof jetzt ist.
Wird er hässig gefallen?
Er wird hässig, ja.
Schau jetzt.
Wir haben am Anfang auch finanzielle Unterstützung von der Sarah bekommen, wo wir am Anfang noch nicht so viele Patenschaften hatten. Aber mittlerweile haben wir eigentlich unseren eigenen Verein, auch unseren eigenen Tierschutzverein, wo die Patenschaften darüber laufen und wo das Tier auch über den Tierschutzverein geschützt ist.
I think the success comes from them contacting us. Because if I pick up the phone and I call a farmer and say, hey, this is me, don't you want to transfarm? I think it's not going to work. My story with this farm is that Selina contacted me in a very shy email to ask if I think that also a farm like this could transfarm. And I said I will just come along and have a look. And she said, but my husband will never agree. And she showed me this very old cow, and she started crying. She said, I wish I could rescue her. And then I said, I will rescue her for you, and I will rescue her for you if you commit to making him change. And then she said, let's do it.
Also es ist so, dass der Hof ja eigentlich meinem Mann gehört. Also ich bin einfach nur reingeheiratet da. Und sie haben vorher eine Mutterkuhhaltung gehabt, meine Schwiegereltern. Und ich hatte wie das Gefühl gehabt, also ich habe vorher schon kein Fleisch gegessen und ich hatte das Gefühl gehabt, ja, ich kann wie das verantworten, dass ich sehe, wie die hier aufwachsen und dass sie es ja schön haben. Und dann haben wir das ein Jahr gemacht und ich habe einfach gemerkt, es ist immer wie schwieriger geworden für mich. Ja, jedes Mal, wenn ich wusste, jetzt muss wieder jemand gehen, wieder eine Muni gehen oder eine Kuh, dann habe ich schon wochenlang nicht mehr gut schlafen, ich Klotz auf der Brust gehabt. Und dann habe ich irgendwann gefunden, nein, das geht nicht so für mich. Ich kann nicht mit etwas Geld verdienen, das ich gar nicht unterstütze. Das verlorene Einkommen, das wir jetzt nicht mehr durch die Schlachten haben, bekommen wir rein durch Patenschaften den Tieren. Wir haben aber auch andere Projekte am Laufen mit dem Anbauen von Kichererbsen. Haben wir Zusammenarbeit mit dem Feinfood von Zürich. Wir anbauen Kichererbsen und sie verarbeiten dann die Kichererbsen zu Hummus. Halt hier nicht Nahrungsmittel eigentlich für Tiere anzubauen und dann werden sie geschlachtet und wir essen es dann, sondern halt einfach so wie der direkte Weg von Anbauen und wir essen, genau. Du musst halt hier, eben, wenn du mit den Kindern hier kannst aufwachsen und ihnen kannst das wie weitergeben, das ist das Schönste, glaube ich. Das Mikrofon. Es ist für mich immer noch, ich könnte immer noch rennen, wirklich für den Moment. Es ist so, es berührt mich immer wieder so extrem, einfach so etwas getroffen haben wie dich. Wirklich. Es, ja, also eben, wie gesagt, ich könnte immer wieder anfangen zu rennen. Oh.
Du bist wunderbar. The whole process of transformation is also a process of personal transformation. It's like piecework for the people themselves. They get in line with their values. I can see that very much.
Also ich würde diesen zukünftigen Lebenshöfen einfach mitgeben, dass sie an das Projekt wirklich glauben, weil es ist eine Wandlung da in der Gesellschaft und überall und es wird ihnen nachher wirklich auch seelisch besser gehen, wenn sie die Umstellung dann machen oder gemacht haben.
Oh, well done. Well done, you three. Thank you for, oh yes, people are happy tears and lots of congrats coming in. Bravo, indeed. Thank you for making such a sweet, beautiful, succinct little film. I like that. I like in documentary films that you can see the filmmakers involved because you can see the movement of the cameras when it's handheld. I really like that you kept in the part where she says, "Oh, that's the microphone," to her child. You know, it really brings you right in there, and I like that. Now I'm going to read your biographies, and then I'm going to pose the first question to Sarah. Okay, about our friend Tommy Makowitz. He is a documentary photographer and filmmaker focusing on animal rescue efforts and social issues. He is working on a long-term project, Sanctuary, which documents animals and the people who rescue them. This project has taken him all over the world, including to the Russian war in Ukraine. He is a regular contributor to We Animals Media, and his work has also been featured in multiple animal rights campaigns. And to Sabina Dietelm. She's a freelance photographer and journalist based in Winterthur, Switzerland. Thanks to her experience as a journalist, editor, and more recently as a documentary photographer, she is an expert storyteller, but this is the first time she has co-produced a film, the subject matter of which is very close to her heart. And over to Heiligtag. As the founder of the Transfarmation concept, Sarah works to fundamentally change the system, not to simply oppose agriculture or to close individual farms. Together with her husband, Sarah acquired a farm in Zurich and transformed it into a vegan farm and sanctuary in 2013. As of August 2022, more than 200 rescued pigs, goats, sheep, horses, donkeys, chickens, turkeys, ducks, cats, and dogs have found a new peaceful home here. Soon after Sarah created Lebenshof, excuse my pronunciation, which literally means farm of life, a farmer who had heard about it contacted Sarah, seeking to change his farm too. There's more to your biography here, Sarah, that I could read, but I'd love for you to spend a minute telling us about what happened there once that first farmer reached out to you.
Oh, thank you. So, yeah, that was back in 2017 when suddenly, out of the blue, this dairy farmer contacted us and said he had seen what we work with, like, because we are also a producing farm, we're not just a sanctuary. And he wanted to think about the idea if he could change his farm into still like staying in agriculture, but not exploiting animals anymore. Because, and he said that, I'm not going to do this any day longer. And if I have to give up my farm, I'm going to run away, but I'm not going to kill another cow. And this was so touching for us. And I stood there and I didn't have a clue how to do it, but I said, yes, sure, we can do it. And then out of this, like, fake it until you make it moment, I had this real energy, like doing it as fast as possible. And we managed to transform his farm within 2 months into a really running farm without exploitation and rescue also all the cows. And all this energy out of this moment then carried forward into the rest of the transformation work that followed afterwards.
And that's happened really quickly, all of this, and now over 100 farms in such a short amount of time.
Yes. Yes, it was actually, things just started happening then. It was like after that one, it got into media, other farmers saw that, they contacted us and said, could that also work for me? And then the whole thing really started. It just happened to us, really.
And I had to laugh about the hummus farm, the chickpea farming. Like, that's such a classic vegan thing.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like a cliche that we all eat hummus. So tell us about the chickpea farming.
It's so true. When I first heard the idea with the chickpeas, I was like, please don't do hummus because that's what vegans eat, right? No, but the thing is, in Switzerland, the soil is actually quite good for doing all these proteins that we here usually feed to animals to fatten them up, to slaughter them, one of them being chickpeas, that we could directly feed to humans. And it is true, a lot of chickpeas are being eaten here, so why not produce them also here, not import them anymore? So I'm kind of in peace with this idea now, but it was my first reaction was like, please don't do chickpeas.
Oh, that's funny and great. Okay, I have a few more questions, but I'm going to go over to Thomas and Sabina now. Either of you can take the lead on this, but you know, you came to We Animals Media with this pitch, and we loved it, and we gave it to you as an assignment with a very small budget, though, because you know we're still growing, we still have limited funds for projects, and you had to do a heck of a lot of work on a small budget with a small crew. So tell us about that filming experience, given the parameters you were working within.
You go, Sabina, because it was your first time filming too, so it'll be more fun to hear.
Right. Okay. So it was actually Tommy who found Sarah's place, and sort of like convinced me to go there. And then once we got to know Sarah and like who she is as a person and found out more about her work, we were just so inspired by that we really felt that this is a story that's really worth telling. And I mean, the crew was just the two of us actually, and we didn't have that much time to film the whole thing. So that was challenging, but it was also a super inspirational experience. Like it was super inspiring to see how those places that had already transformed became like such happy places. So it was like also on a personal level, a really good experience.
And how many days did you have to film?
I think we filmed 5 days.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
Congratulations on doing so much with such a little amount of time. And for people who aren't involved in the film world, that's a very, very short shoot. And you ended up with how much footage would you say? And I think you were taking stills as well. So how much did you end up with? And you brought this down to a 15-minute film?
Yeah, so we ended up with 15 minutes. I mean, we have hours and hours of footage. I don't know how many because I try not to think about it. But honestly, some of that depends on how fancy is your camera and whatever. So we were pretty low tech for this actually, and I'm kind of impressed seeing it now today how it all came together, to be honest. But it's true, like what Sabina was saying, like every day was inspirational, like we got to see what Sarah does and what the farmers are doing, so it was really like easy to get motivated and stay motivated because it's awesome.
There's probably a lot more that you can do together if you wanted to as well. I think in the planning process there was talk of going to Germany to a pig farm. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, well, I'd love to hear about that because some of the comments here are about how to expand this. Are you expanding into other countries? So it sounds like there is work in other countries, and so the question is twofold as well. If people want to reach out to you from even places like Canada, how would they do that? Go ahead, guys.
Shall I?
Yes, please.
Yes. So the difficult thing is if you want to do transformation work, you need to know a little bit the agricultural system, the subsidy system, all the rules and regulations, so that you actually can really be a good coach for these farmers. And in Europe, I can kind of relate still. I don't know much about Canada, so I would just hand over the psychology stuff because that's a big pile you have to know about how to talk to farmers and what to avoid and how to kind of, sometimes also convince them. All that part, I would happily talk to people in other countries wherever. I've also talked to people in India, for example. But then the whole system behind the budgeting, the whole financial part, someone needs to know the facts and figures to really do a solid transformation that really works in the end and gives them an income and all that. At the moment, we are working with people from Germany so they have their own little transformation office in the end, hopefully this year. And also in Austria, there is a group of people who are very motivated to do transformation work. So that's really great because we can't travel everywhere to look at every farm and then accompany it until the end. So I think it's very important to have at least one kind of transformation office in every country in the end. But of course, we're there to support wherever we can. And I think times are looking good. I think time for transformation has come because we need the future agriculture system. And it's starting, for example, with that.
If I can add something to that, maybe. I think a big reason why this has worked out so well is also because of who Sarah is as a person and how she does this work. I think this was not in her bio, but she used to teach ethics too. So she really knows what she's talking about, but she also understands the farmers, like their perspective. She also did the farmers' school. So I think it's really also because of that the farmers feel understood and she can really then work with them.
Excellent. I love how much potential there is for training and mentoring so that this can spread. That in itself could be a full-time job for you. Yeah, as you said, you can only do so much as one person. And you're reminding me of how it is at We Animals Media. We Animals was my little project, We Animals, for a long time. And now we have lots of photographers and trainings and all sorts of things so that more of this work can be done globally. I meant to say earlier, so we're going to open up to questions from the attendees. You're very welcome to post your questions in the comments. We'll try to get to as many as we can. And another question, though, for Tommy and Sabina, and Sarah, how were those couples and those people selected for the film?
Yeah, I want to say something there because there's many other farms that I like kind of coach that don't look as beautiful and that are still in the midst of the process, or that have like a huge pork farm changing into something completely different. And I would have loved to have one of those in there, but the pictures are kind of sad. And many people don't want to talk in front of the camera. So it breaks down to very few people that want to talk in front of the camera and that you also want to have talk in front of the camera. So that's also why some aspects can't be shown that aren't as beautiful as the ones we saw now. And also I think those farms who were in the middle, it was April when they came by and they were in the middle or they had finished. And it was different stages of transformation. And they are all very energetic people who can also work for transformation work again, because they can tell their story. They also do media work. And I find that very important to inspire other farmers, that farmers go and talk about it. So I kind of selected also those who I think have a huge potential in changing the world by themselves also.
Thank you. Going to one of the questions from the audience. This is from Cindy, and this question for Sarah. She asks, I live in an area heavy with the chicken industry. How do you deal with potential aggressive reaction from the various industry supporters, political, commercial, etc.?
So how do I deal, or how do the farmers deal? That's maybe two parts. I think I try to come across friendly and understanding and try to talk to everyone. That's really what I try also, even if I don't feel like it all the time. But I try to kind of always understand the other person's point of view if something happens. Of course, I am careful. There's places I don't go alone. There's places I take a dog or my company along and all that stuff. But also talking about the farmers who have to deal with all this social pressure and all this starting. When they start, there is a lot of problems involved in the community around or in the village. They sometimes wait quite long until they tell the others that they are actually changing. I have, for example, a few farmers, they have changed 2 years ago completely, but they haven't told anyone. I mean, some very best friends, they know and they can see there's no animal going to slaughter, but the others don't know, that the ones living close. So it sometimes really needs a long time. Sometimes you need also some support on several levels to protect yourself and your family. But sometimes you also are surprised how positive the reactions can be. Suddenly, they really see the farm is working now. There's lots of people, there's happiness around. Maybe they are even curious to see if that could be a solution for them. So there's all kinds of reaction, but it does take time. And the worst conflicts, also to add that, is often within the families themselves.
Yeah, I understand that. And so it is with people who are on their own vegan journey, their own personal journey.
Yeah, exactly.
Question for Tommy and Spina. What did you learn about farmed animals during this project? Did your views about animals or humans change as you produced the film?
Yeah.
I can say something of that.
Yes, please.
So for me, it was like, having grown up in Switzerland, you're so used to like seeing all those like ads, or even like in real life, those seemingly happy cows and those beautiful Swiss mountain pastures. So what I learned is that a lot of things, even though I already knew that that was not like the whole truth, that a lot of things are not like they seem, and that even on organic farms, there are a lot of things that are just wrong, or that are like inherently wrong. So for example, the egg farm, I didn't know before that they have to kill all the 2,000 chickens like once a year and get new ones because they don't lay as many eggs anymore. So that's something that usually people don't know. And when I now talk to people about this, they are quite surprised because that's not common knowledge.
Yeah, that was super shocking for me too. I think one thing that comes to mind to say about this, I mean, every time we do this work, like my heart just like breaks and then expands and then breaks and expands and breaks and expands. So, so it's really, yeah, it's really moving and it's really changing. I'll share just one thought I had, like this project as I've been going, and documenting animal rescue has led me to being vegetarian and then vegan, and then like doing more work to like actively promote vegan values. And so it's like this constant opening up, right? And so there's a lot of, I just noticed through the process like what sorts of thoughts might come into my head. And I remember going into the barn at the Ausmelk farm and thinking like, this isn't so bad, because it's not super mechanical and industrial and like gnarly, and it looks like the farm that I grew up down the road from, for example, and at that time I wasn't thinking about any of this stuff. But even when it doesn't look super horrible, the more time you spend with it and thinking about it and meeting the animals and farmers and experiencing, or seeing, observing what they're going through, it all sucks, basically. Is really what it came down to for me. So that was something that changed for me.
And what was really interesting too is just to talk to the farmers and realize how they are actually suffering doing this work. It's not like vegan activists saying this is wrong. It's like the farmers themselves doing this work that don't want to kill those animals anymore, that don't want to keep farming like this. And that was really eye-opening.
I was going to bring this up later. However, we have people asking in the comment section now, Sarah, how can people support you in this work? Can they donate? What else can they do?
So the important thing really is for me to spread the idea that we can change, or we can liberate animals by transforming the farms. So that's really, really what my passion is, to spread the idea, to share the idea, to to share whatever videos we have and talk about the stories and all that. Of course, they can donate to us as well. And we have this transformation fund within our charity as well, from which we also help farms to transform. We do help some farms the first 1 or 2 years so they can kind of bridge the change. And we always can use money there for sure. But yeah, really, really important is to spread the idea and to get it done as fast as possible, that animal exploitation will be the past.
Yes, that is the hope and the dream and the goal. Yes. I can imagine that, you know, helping with the funding to transform even one place is huge. I mean, a vet bill for an ailing cow can be in the thousands of dollars just for, you know, 24 hours. Bills rack up really, really quickly. So I would encourage people to support this and to tell other people to support this, because you're just creating such a long-term effect, and that's really what's needed. And it's what you're doing and addressing. It's very, very exciting. Now there was, next question, Sarah. As more farmers transfarm thanks to your work, do you also notice veganism increasing in popularity in those areas?
Definitely, I would say. Definitely. I would, like, there's some areas in Switzerland that there is quite a few farms, like for example, the typical Swiss area, Ammental. It's very, very Swiss, but there is so many farms now that transformed proportionally. And suddenly also in tiny little shops, they have vegan options, and in the restaurants, and also the whole thing that we started a few years ago with the oat milk idea, that they don't produce cow's milk anymore, but oat milk instead. That came into every corner in Switzerland. And now the big milk companies, of course, they copy it. They want to be fancy and they sell oat milk. For me, that is a sign that they kind of see what is happening, you know, otherwise they would not give a damn about oat milk. So I think it's not all thanks to transformation. It's the whole thing, of course, together, that we can see consumers change, that we can see it on the agenda about environmental congresses, whatever. It's everywhere now. But the whole idea that farming is not gonna be cancelled. You want to stop farming in Switzerland because Switzerland is a farming country? No, we want to make it future proof. I like to say, it's not an English word, I know, but I like the word in German. So it's like we want to put them in a position that they can really be farms in the future and sell good and healthy products for us and the planet and the animals. And I think it's clicking in.
And another question for you, Sarah. What's been the most surprising part of this work for you?
That's a good question. I think I have many surprising moments. I think it started back when we did our sanctuary work, our vegan farming stuff, our educational outreach, all the animal liberation stuff, and then suddenly farmers contacted us. I think that was the most surprising thing, because I had never thought that I would go to farms and tell them what to do. Never. So that was very surprising. And now sometimes when I'm on these big or smaller farms and I stand there and I tell them what they could do, I still feel like, wow, this is so impressive for myself.
Good. And someone asks, though you've touched on it somewhat, what are your long-term goals for transformation? I know you're into total animal liberation.
I mean, how cool would it be that Switzerland would be like the role model and the first country that had transformed all the farms, and all the other countries can copy it? Because usually it's the other way around. Switzerland is always the last in changing stuff. Be it
really?
Right? Yeah, many things. Like we got to vote as women only a few years ago and all that. So why not be the first ones to be really like peaceful and cruelty-free?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
We've been asked about distribution plans for this film. We Animals commissioned it, and I wish my comms team was here to talk about that, and maybe Sabina and Tommy can talk about that a little bit. But we tend to put out our short films on the internet and sort of watch them catch fire. We have one film called Moving Animals that just keeps going and going and being screened here and there. And this has been our format so far. We were a part of a huge documentary by Liz Marshall called The Ghosts in Our Machine, and that had a big actual release and a global release. But as for our short films, we're doing things online. But I just wondered if the two filmmakers wanted to comment on their goals for goals and plans for this film.
Well, I'd say, yeah, I mean, the We Animals comms team is amazing in submitting this to film festivals and publications and all these different places. It's really incredible. Like, if we would have just made this film and put it on the internet, not many of you would be seeing it probably. So that's a huge part of it. I don't have any grand designs for it myself, other than to just hopefully get as many people to see it as possible. So in that spirit, if you know somebody who would like to see the film, please share it with them. Or if you have a group of people that would like to screen it at an event or at a school, it's cool to organize these sorts of events at schools and other community organizations. Reach out to We Animals and we will help you make it happen.
Thanks for that. That's certainly a part of what we do with our short films is Q&As, lots of Q&As. And I love speaking at schools with students and conferences. If you have a conference coming up, you're very welcome to reach out to us about screening that and so on. And we'd love to have this little film out, showing for years to come to inspire people. You never know where it's going to land and when the right person is going to see it, and then big things shift. Yeah. Someone writes, Joe, this is very different from the confronting images of animal suffering that I'm used to seeing from We Animals media. Why did you choose to tell this story? Why is it important? Well, it's important to show the truth of what animals go through, but it's also important to inspire people to act on the many changes that they can take part in. And I love this feature because it shows someone who has, Sarah, who has worked very strategically and thoughtfully. And this film inspires me, and I know it'll inspire many. And that's also why we do all sorts of features of change and progress and inspiring people, be they artists or lawyers or scientists, filmmakers, and so on. There's so much we can all do to make the world a kinder place for animals. And so that's why you'll continue to see features from us on the inspiring change makers out there and the changes happening.
If I might just jump in and add a little bit to that too, the photos, Joe, you do, and so many contributors do give you such this visceral, intense set of feelings to see it. At least for me, they do too. And for me, sometimes my gut reaction has been anger, sadness, burn it down or whatever. and and those things, yeah, are important to experience. But people like me are also looking for positive examples of how does it work to change these things, and so I think that's really important to see. People like you, Sarah, are giving us a roadmap for how to change our lives and work in the systems around us.
Thank you.
I'll point out that Rodrigo has offered to volunteer to have this translated into Brazilian Portuguese. So thank you so much for that. If there are other people who want to manage translations into other language, we would absolutely love that. We do have a short film called Promises. I think that we have that in 16 languages, and we'd love to do the same for this. So thank you very much for the offer, and We Animals will be in touch with you about that. If you want to offer well, if you want to screen this film or offer any kind of help for it, you can email us right there on the screen. It's info@weanimals.org. Fantastic. Now we're going to wrap up in just a moment. I'll see if the team posts for me any of the remaining questions. There were a lot of questions coming up about the how-tos of trans farming. Certainly we can't cover these in depth in this short hour that we have here. But Sarah, how do people learn from you? Is there a link that we can post here, perhaps?
That's a difficult one. I always invite them to come along. I mean, yeah, if you really want to do the whole transformation work, you kind of need to learn many areas, starting with agriculture and also psychology, as I mentioned before. But if you want to spread the idea also within farming community, some activists, they stand in front of slaughterhouses, they talk to drivers, they can mention that there's other ways, they can ask questions, do you really want to do what you do? Because it's also very much about strategy. It's not that we are sitting here waiting for farmers to come now. It's also that we talk about that there's other options, that we don't need to do this anymore these days, that we can go another path. And this is very important to mention wherever possible, like in restaurants, in front of the slaughterhouse, like if you're at the conference, always mention that there is other ways and that they might be interested in other ways. And then they can go on the website or they can watch this movie, or just like sometimes there's just a little bit of mentioning necessary, or just the idea. Because before it all started, I think there were farmers, they were motivated, but they didn't have the information that they could actually do something. They had the option to quit or to continue like before. And if they now hear that there might be other ways, they might get interested, even those that you would never imagine. And talking about the surprising part before, I have seen farmers with so many pigs and so terrible conditions change, which I could never believe before. So it's everything is possible. I really believe it now.
Oh my gosh, that's so inspiring. There are many questions coming in. I'm sorry that we can't get to them all, but someone did ask about visiting you, meeting you, your sanctuary volunteer opportunities. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, get in touch early enough, because we have many people wanting to visit us, and we are kind of small, so we don't have many bedrooms or stuff like that. So please get in touch early enough, and don't tell me I'm here, can I come tomorrow? Because I will not be there tomorrow, for example. So it's really important to get in touch early enough. But then, yes, I like to meet you all ideally, but I also have limited time. So email us and we'll find a solution.
Spoiler alert is I think one of our We Animal staff wants to come and spend some time with you.
Ah, yes, you are prioritized.
Okay, well, in these last minutes, I just want to thank the three of you, Sarah, for your incredibly world-changing, life-affirming work. And Tommy and Sabina, do you have any final remarks about your film? Anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Well, just thank you that you gave us this opportunity to do this film, and it was really a great pleasure and also an honor to get to know Sarah and to see her at work.
Yeah, same. And is it I don't know, it's kind of weird to tear up at your own film, but
I love it.
But seeing it all come together, and your belief in us, Jo and We Animals Media, and Sarah, your work, and everybody watching this film and sharing it, like it takes all of us to make this thing as beautiful as it is and can be. So thank you to Wham and Sarah and Sabina and everyone.
It's totally okay to tear up over this stuff. I mean, this is emotional work we're doing, and we stay cool about it as journalists and filmmakers, and speak rationally about it. Of course we do, and that's great. But also, like, we do this work because it moves us to tears. We are compelled to travel the world. I mean, Tommy, you went to Ukraine to document this stuff. Like, we are all very, very compelled emotionally and intellectually to do this work. And the first time I met Sabina and Tommy was at the Perpignan Photo Festival. And we stayed up late into the night looking at photos, talking projects, and Tommy did what he was doing now. I mean, he's so moved by the people in his stories. I just love it. And it's perfectly great to feel that way, to feel passionately about the art we're creating and the stories that move others. So Molly writes, absolutely amazing all around. It really matters, this work. And I think we'll end there. It really matters, all this work that we're doing as filmmakers, as change makers, as animal photojournalists. So thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you.
Oh, my absolute pleasure. The We Animals team and I are just so grateful to be on this mission. I'm so grateful to be on this mission, and grateful to all of you. And look at all the thank yous coming in on the comments to everyone who attended. You can follow next steps through We Animals Media about where to see the film and where it'll be screening, and so on. Okay, thank you very much. And the We Animals team will click us out and sign us off. So, thank you.